Hey guys, welcome back to my channel for the kitchen makeover process, I guess, and costs and all of the details. We vlogged the process, we filmed every time we kind of did something along the way. It took a couple of months to get everything done, but we saved a lot of money by doing the work ourselves. If you've watched all my homes videos, yes, there are 3 of them because we've moved around so much. You will know that while we were in England, we did a lot of DIY, a lot. And since moving to New Zealand, we have realized that doing DIY in New Zealand is so much more expensive than doing it in England. I don't know how it compares to other countries, but it's definitely expensive here, but it's still a lot cheaper than getting tradespeople involved and contracting out work. So that's how we saved a lot of money doing our kitchen. It wasn't like super cheap to do it, but we saved money by keeping the existing cabinets and doors, and obviously we didn't have to replace the floor. We didn't replace our dishwasher or fridge, so that kept costs down a bit. So I'll talk about the costs at the end of the video, but this is how the process of doing the renovation went. So the kitchen renovation has begun, and it's begun with this tap. So we've got this tap that sits on the counter, and it's for the filtered water, and Grant doesn't want to have a hole in the new counter, so I'm going to move it to there and have like 2 taps coming out of the sink, because we're just going to reuse our sink.
As you put it there, I think it might be better further away or rather than the middle.
Yeah, we've kind of been going back and forth between centering it there, try that again, centering it in that space, or like having it on the left. So I guess we'll decide. There we go. That's so much better. And we left the flange off the bottom. I think it looks so much better without that. So now we have our water filter at the sink, and that is going to be replaced. So we replaced this tap when we moved in, like we fitted this one, and it's okay, but this handle, like, it's really hard. Like, I'm pushing really hard on it and then it just suddenly goes. You can't like do like a half stream, you have to be like, yeah, it's kind of tricky. And also we're getting one that you can pull out a sprayer and like spray out your sink.
Right, the next stage is to get these tiles off. Yeah, so I'll give that a go now.
So this is happening. The fridge has come out and Grant is going to fix this situation. So as you can see, somebody previously moved the side panel over. I guess they had a wider fridge. So there's an issue there. Half the door frame is missing, and he's going to correct that and just move the panel back to where it should be, which means we've had to find another place to put the ironing board, which is fine. But it's going to look a lot neater, and we're going to have a decent sized doorway, and also then the door won't scrape on the panel like that when we want to shut it. And this is what the real Superman looks like. Meanwhile, we have guests coming for dinner in half an hour. Great timing, Grant.
I'll just push this fridge back in when they arrive.
Especially because our friends are going to be here in 15 minutes. It finally came loose. The good news is that that molding runs all the way behind, so there wasn't going to be a gap. Like, I thought there was going to be a gap, but there isn't. And the bad news is it's like lift up the ceiling paint, so I'm going to have to sort that out. The top is screwed on, so that's kind of how it's supposed to look. Obviously we need to finish attaching that again and cork it, but we're going to have to replace the top one and the side because of how they meet in the corner. Needs to be mited.
You just hope the fridge now fits in.
Stop it. But let's see. That's a lot better than it was. And just a couple of inches there actually makes a difference as you're walking in and out there. It just feels more spacious. Every little counts. But yeah, we need to line it up vertically, fasten it to the floor, and then put the fridge back in.
To get something to make sure it's vertical, or we just eyeball
we can measure it to the door frame. Good thing our friends are late. Okay, Grant, do the honors, close the door.
Let's see if this works.
It hasn't been closed in so long. Do you know what? It might be my bunting.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Just pick it off. It'll just come off. It's just on 2 little nails on the back. See if that helps. No. It's okay, we can move the strike plate.
Yeah.
Little more progress. Grant has put the architrave on the left, and I suggested he just patch in a piece rather than replace the whole top, because once it's caulked and painted you won't even notice. And now this is happening. I'm not going to go too close because it's kind of gross with stuff that's fallen down kind of behind and under the stove. But anyway, he's patching that wall. So he's pulled off the tiles, but there's all this grout. So this piece of hardy board, yes, it's not even drywall, needs to come off and either be replaced, or he's going to try and flip it back to front and see if that will work. Because at the moment, if I put the planks on top of that, they're not going to sit flush. So that is that, and then this is the big switch for the stove, and he's going to move it, or we're going to have it moved down there so that it sits behind the like utensils, so it's not so obvious in the middle of nowhere. So that is the damaged bits removed. What's going on here?
Leaving that.
Oh, I thought you were just going to put a new sheet across there. So the kitchen's in a bit of disarray. We're not actually pulling this out just yet. That's going to have to go back in so we can use it. We got the quote for the counters and we've asked them to go ahead. We've got our oven and hob, but the cabinet and whatnot we don't have yet. This is the plug for the dishwasher, so we're going to need an outlet under the counter back there. It was plugged into the side of the stove. So, bit of disruption, but not actually all that exciting because we aren't actually moving forward yet. The counters need to be ordered, and then she said it's going to be like 3 to 4 weeks before they come in. So this is happening, which is very exciting. We're going to sell the stove, that's out. Electrics obviously still need to happen for this, but we're going to put that in, and then we can at least have a functioning oven. And while we're waiting for the worktops, we'll just put a temporary worktop sitting on top there, which I've got a piece there, and use camping stoves so I can begin cooking on gas, even though it's not the same as the gas piped to the house. But this is very exciting to see a bit of progress. Grant demonstrating a new setup. Talk us through it.
The oven's in place. Well, temporary.
Kind of. We're still going to do the like spacers, whatever the wood on the sides, and the kick plate.
But I'm leaving it loose for the plumber to come and do the gas fitting. Yeah.
Brilliant. So the hardy board's in the back. Temporary setup with our camping stove so I can at least cook. And it already looks better.
Will we paint the hardy board?
No, because I'm just going to do the paneling over.
Won't you see it?
No. The dreaded upstand is coming. Maybe I should move this out of the way. Oh my goodness. What could go wrong? It's not like there's taps in the way or anything. I hated this upstand for so long.
Get going, it's quick.
And now there's a big hole in the wall.
Wait.
Behind there.
Yeah, I might have to take the tip.
Oh, let me unplug this. There we go. Watch the shelf! As I was saying, watch the shelf.
Nice, that was good.
Yeah, it looks great now. A new tap came in.
Make sure it's the same size there.
So there's the old one, the old / new one. We replaced this tap, like we put this one in after we moved in 5 years ago. And here's a new one. Look how fat it is. But we wanted one with a pull down hose, because I can't stand it when you're like trying to clean the sink and you're like trying to like scoop the water into the corners. It's so frustrating. So we thought we'd just get a new tap, and it's a big one. New tap has been installed. Grant will now proceed to demonstrate.
Quite chunky, isn't it?
Mm. Brilliant.
It's not knocking. Did you do something?
No. It was knocking pipes under there, now it isn't. So that's good. Guess what we collected today? Our kitchen counters, very exciting. This is what they look like. And we were going to install them tonight, but we can't because it will entail turning off the water, and we have a guest in our Airbnb guest house. So we'll either do it tomorrow night or actually more likely on the weekend. Today's Wednesday. Maybe we'll just leave it till the weekend. It's very exciting to have them and to have all the wall materials, and we can just go ahead when we get a chance. Also today I painted the filler bits. I just had to custom mix the color, and it matched in daylight, but in this light it looks much darker. So I'm going to have to redo it. But I mean, it looks better than just the bare primed one. We also need to get a kick plate, but we're going to have to order that in. So yeah, tomorrow I think I'll mix a lighter version of that and redo those. So this is how it looks in the daylight. There's a close shot. I'm going to be installing that on the weekend, but today I am painting. Painted the window frame. I've done one coat. I need to do another coat, but I can't actually paint the bits about like around the windows because I need to open them, and it's been very cold and damp, so I'll do that in the summer. So I've just done the kind of outer frame, and I'm doing this frame, the skirting board, and the door, which I've caulked over there, the frame and then the actual door. And there you can see more of the flooring. So I've got all of the laminate planks, which are going to become the like shiplap wall. So I'm excited to have everything, and we can just kind of push forward and get things done now. So we decided to actually do the counters tonight because we have Airbnb guests all weekend. So we didn't want to turn the water off then, and we have to turn the water off to remove the sink. So we started removing bits and pieces. Grant's outside turning the water off now, and then we're going to proceed to remove the old counter and fit the new one. Meanwhile, everything else is complete chaos, which always happens when you're busy doing renovations. It's got to get worse before it gets better. So because we're reusing the sink, Grant's actually going to cut the old counters there, and then this will become a template. So we've marked a line on the counter and a line on the wall, and then you can just put this piece on top of the new counter and then use it like a stencil to mark where to cut the hole for the sink on the new counter. Let's lift it up on cans, and Grant's gonna cut it now. It already looks so much better without the green counters. Doing a dry fit, and it looks amazing. It's still got the film on. Doesn't that look so much better? I love it. I'm peeling off the film, and it's so beautiful. I've just left a bit to cut around for the sink so he knows where to cut.
Can you do that side? We haven't finished yet.
Okay. We've just spent like 20 minutes, half an hour, I don't know, it feels like ages, measuring and remeasuring and templating and retemplating, and this is absolutely nerve-wracking.
Just doing a test hole.
Yeah. Making some progress. Well, it's been 4 hours. It's 11:15. I think we're all tired. I have reached my limit. Noah's just cranking this seam together. You can see a bit of a seam, but it's not too bad. Thank you. Grant's reconnecting the tap so we can put the water back on. Looking forward to my shower in bed. And it looks magical. The only thing left to do is fasten it like into the cabinets. But I love it so much. What do you reckon, Noah? Bit of an improvement?
Way better.
So here's how the counters look in the light. The kitchen is a little bit of a mess because I started with the wall. So these are laminate floor planks, and I've cut the tongue and groove off each side. And instead of screwing them to the wall, we're going to try like a strong adhesive, like a no more nails situation. And then obviously I'm going to paint it. But they're locked together like that, lengthways. And I can't continue because the spaces that we bought are in Grant's car. Also because there's outlets and things that I can't deal with. So I just did the first row. And I can't do that row because that also needs to be dealt with. Grant's cutting the hole for the hob, which obviously we have to get a professional to connect it because it's a gas hob. But he's just getting that done, and then today we're going to be doing the backsplash. Been working on it all day. These are the trickiest ones. We've had electrical cutouts going around little corners, skinny ones going behind the tap. Oh, we're missing one. Again, cutouts and electrics. But that is as far as we have got, and we're going to stop for lunch now. I might actually just do that last one before we stop for lunch. Just showing you we're using these soakers as spacers. I didn't want to do coins because I didn't want as thick of a gap. I just wanted skinny little gaps, which they all kind of change as the wood swells and shrinks. But that is now done. I did that missing piece. The tape is holding some of the spaces that wanted to fall, and it's holding these together because this gap wanted to enlarge, so I've kind of pushed it down and taped it. The wood actually looks really pretty and it really goes, but I just want the room to be as light and bright as possible, so I'm going to paint it. But we're going to have some lunch now. It's 2 o'clock. Close of play, and all of this side is panelled, and most of this side. I kind of stopped there because we need to do more cuts. Like, I've got the planks to go up, but it's a bit late to cut now. So tomorrow we'll just finish that bit. And then that's the whole room done. And it actually looks quite nice, like this particular wood. But I really wanted white, so at least it looked nice in the meantime. And Grant fitted the hob. Look how beautiful. Really chuffed with today's work. And the rest of the house looks like a disaster. And you look exhausted.
Yeah. And when we get the spotlights in the kitchen, that'll be good.
Yeah, because at the moment we've got one naked bulb over the sink and one naked bulb in the middle. So if you're busy cutting anything, your shadow falls like on the work surface where you're working, which is really annoying. So we're going to get spots put into the corners. It's like an actual cohesive room, because the paneling is all done now. It flows all the way around. Don't look at my dining room, it's a disaster. This is all done. So today I think I'm gonna caulk, and then this week I can prime and paint. Round one of all of the caulking done. As that dries, it'll shrink back, and then I'll go around a second time, and then I can prime and paint. It's taken hours and I hate caulking, but it obviously needed to be done, so I'm glad at least half of it is now done. I finished caulking a couple days ago, and the caulk has had time to dry, and I've taped off the outlets because I was going to pull them forward, like unscrew them and pull them forward, but I'd have to turn off the circuit to do that, and to prime and paint is going to take 2 days from today. So I just taped them off instead because we can't do without kitchen outlets for that long. So I'm busy priming, and I'm priming this Tuesday night, and I don't feel like doing it one bit, but I realized if I prime tonight, then I can do 2 coats of paint tomorrow. Whereas if I prime tomorrow, I can only do 1 coat of paint, and then the whole thing's just going to take an extra day. So that is why I'm going ahead. And the primer I'm using is this, and it's held up really, really well in the whole way. I'll show you the paint when I get to the paint. But this is tonight's activities. Ta-da! That took almost 2 hours. My shoulder hates me, but it's good to get a head start. So tomorrow I can do a coat of paint, and then I have to wait 6 hours and hopefully fit in a second one, and then wait another 6 hours, and maybe even fit in a 3rd coat and be done. Otherwise I'll do the 3rd coat the next day. This was all brushwork, but the painting will go a lot quicker because I'll be doing it with a little roller. First coat of paint done. I did that in just over an hour, and I should be able to do 2 more coats today because I started early enough. So that is how it's looking now. Second coat is done. It's still not perfectly white. You can kind of see there. So I will be doing a 3rd coat later. But that's with 2 coats. Ta-da! It is finished. 3 coats of paint. I literally feel nauseous from the paint fumes that I've been breathing in all day. This stuff is like a serious paint fume city, and we're doing all the things, the cut onions, and been running the ventilator, like the HRV system and everything, but these are hardcore fumes, and I am glad that's done, and I'm glad that I could knock it out in 1 day and not have to redo it tomorrow. That is how it is looking, and I'll show you the paint I used. It is by White Knight, and it is laminate paint. It is oil based, and it is amazing. It's super durable. It's self-leveling. I just used a little microfiber roller, and I'm really pleased with how it's held up in the hallway, which now there's like a real sense of continuity. I'm just walking backwards as you walk down the passageway because we've got the same treatment here. And this wall, excuse my fingers, this is from like a tandoori chicken that I was eating with my hands, and it stained my fingers. This we've had up for a couple of years. It's the same treatment and the same paint, and we scrape up against this wall all the time, and it's absolutely flawless. Like, it hasn't even scratched. So this should be as durable as tile. Really, really glad to have that done. And then tomorrow I need to do the flexible sealant around the bottom so that no water can get in there. I need to put the burners back on there, and we need to get this connected. So I did mention that Grant installed it. He installed it, but he didn't connect it. We need to obviously get a qualified, certified gas fitter to connect it to the gas. So this isn't working at the moment. Finished. Does it look finished? Of course the walls are painted, but I have done the sealant all around the bottom. So we can actually use the kitchen now. Well, except for the hob, which still needs to be connected to the gas. But like the sink, I can put the kettle back and the toaster, and we can actually use the kitchen because it's pretty much done. So in a week's time I can put the clock and the shelf back up once this is cured, and we're still waiting for the kick plate, of course, and then the hob connected. And we want to do the lighting, but that's going to be later. Exciting! The gas fitter is here to install, well, to connect the gas for the hob. So that's exciting. We'll be able to cook on the hob. So the gas fitter's gone, and there's a couple things. First of all, we need to get our regulator changed. So these are currently only operating on like half power because there's a regulator on the gas meter on the outside, and that needs to be changed, and then the pressure will be enough for this to run on full power. So that's one thing, and I'm busy speaking to our gas provider to get that done, and apparently there's like a 3 to 4 week wait. Anyway, the other thing is the backsplash, and I did not even think of this. It's been so long since I've had a gas stove or gas cooker or hob, and that was in England, and that was with tile as a backsplash. So this might scorch. If we have a pot on there and these are on full blast and the flame pushes out, this is not, I think it needs to be, anyway, there's a set distance it needs to be to avoid scorching, and this is closer because it's impossible to have it far enough away with the standard depth of a bench or like countertop. So now we are looking at different options to provide some heat protection at the back there, which is really annoying. I really, really don't want to break up this visual run. I don't want something there. We had a stove before that kind of just broke up visually this length, and we really don't want to do that again. So now we're thinking of what to do. I'm also thinking of painting a piece of board with this paint and then like testing to see how easily it scorches. We've talked about having a clear piece of glass as a backsplash there. We've talked about having a clear piece of glass going the whole length of that bottom one, because it only needs to be 150 high for heat protection, and this is 198 high. So we'll see what we decide, but did not even think of the backsplash scorching, and that is really annoying. Also annoying is the fact that Kmart does not have our kettle in stock online. I want to replace this kettle. This one's really old and it's gone like all yellow, and the one we want is not in stock online, so that's kind of annoying too. So that's where we are now. Today I'm going to be putting up the rails. I have these IKEA Fintorp rails. One has the hooks on, one does not, and they're going to go behind the door. So they're not going to be centered on this wall, they're going to be kind of tucked back so that when the doors open they'll just come to kind of there. And I'm doing one there and one there, and the bottom one's gonna have hooks on because I hang things like my crossbody bag and my aprons, and Grant wants to hang his jacket in the evenings when he comes home. And the reason we're putting rails also is because we have this drying rack system for our laundry, but we tend to hang, we used to have a little towel rail there, and we tend to hang the cleaning cloths and dish rags and stuff there to dry, and then they just save space on there and handy to grab. Also, our food scales broke and we got this one as a replacement, and it can hang on a rail, so that's also super handy. And I'm feeling really nervous about drilling into my panels because they've got such a perfect finish at the moment, and I don't want to make holes in it, but obviously I have to. One down.
Sorry.
A few bits and pieces on there. This is the fin top rails from IKEA, and then you can order hooks that go on them as well. One more to do. That was actually really easy. I really like IKEA stuff. It's sensible and good quality. And we had to order this through one of those import companies because no, we don't have IKEA in New Zealand yet. There we go. The rails are up. That was actually very quick and easy. And there's our food scales, apron, bag, jacket. And then when the doors open, which I need to get a new door stopper because they stick out further than the door stopper used to. It's just tucked away back there. What do you think?
It's good, eh? Yeah.
I was kind of rushing in the last clip where I talked about this backsplash because my battery was dying, so I can't remember how much I did or didn't say. But basically what it's boiled down to is this is not flame proof, and we need to get something flame proof. So Grant and I have been talking about it, and we had thought about just getting a white glass backsplash because I spoke to the people at the glass company and they said you can't do clear because it's almost impossible to get like a fully airtight seal the whole way around, and then you get moisture behind and you get bugs behind and you can see it, and also they need to like put the adhesive behind it. So it's gonna have to be white glass. This is not a standard width to just get one from the shop. So we had the guy from the glass company come out yesterday because we have some other panes that need replacing as well. And he said, it actually can't just be that wide either. It needs to be wider. So then I said, well, then we might as well do the whole wall and just have one big seamless white glass backsplash. So he's quoting for that. So that's kind of where we are at the moment. There's unfortunately 2 holes that will need to be cut out of it. This will also need to be moved over, and each hole that's cut will be $70. So as you can see, we have been using that back burner, but we just put that there in the meantime. But this is only working at half power, or like half pressure at the moment, because we're still waiting for the gas company to change the regulator, and that's going to be 3 weeks. So also haven't heard anything about the kickboard that we ordered, so I don't know what's going on there. So I'm feeling pretty salty about this backsplash. I really want the continuous line. We're going to lose that. We're going to lose these lines. It's just going to be white. Thankfully we can color match it so it's the exact same shade of white, but it's going to be glass. It's going to be shiny, and I didn't want that like shiny modern look. So I've had to just like get over myself and be like, it's better than what we had before. It's going to look fine. We've still got, excuse all the like normal life stuff. We still have this as a feature wall, and obviously like going around there, you know, so it's not like I'm going to lose it altogether. It's just unfortunate. So we're waiting for the quote. I don't know how much it's going to cost, so we will see. There's also lots of little things that need doing, like there's a hole in the side of the larder cabinet. That's because this used to be the hot water cupboard, and anyway, there's a hole. So we need to get like a board to go in there, paint it the same color as the cabinets. Still need to sand and paint the ceiling. The ceiling is kind of dated. It's this old-fashioned whatever. So I said to Grant, if we just pull off this beading and then put like flat planks, it'll look like a nice paneled ceiling and less dated, but we won't have to actually replace the whole thing. Anyway, that needs painting. I still need to do the trim in the corner there. There's like all little bits and pieces. As you can see, there's like a list of things that we need to do. But in the meantime, I'm freaking loving my kitchen. It's so beautiful. Like this is what we see as we come down the passage. Like it's so pretty. I love it. Okay, an update on the backsplash. So we had a quote through, and it's going to be like $1,300 to do the whole wall. And the reason we were going for the whole wall is because he was saying it has to come out to like there and there, and we just thought that's going to look dumb. But really, so the rules are that the scorchable or flammable wall has to be at least 20 centimeters away from the burner. So I measured 20 centimeters from here to like next to if we had a glass backsplash, and it's only like 7 centimeters extra on the side. So I've put this at 10 centimeters, this salt cellar, and that side. So really that's all we would need is 10 extra centimeters, like under the cabinet there, not all the way up to there. Like that was a false choice. I know he was like trying to be conservative, but like let's also not get carried away. So that would be safe and I think still look quite good. So that is what we've decided to do. I've asked him for a new quote for full height and then 10 centimeters on either side. And whatever the quote is, we're going to go for it because it's going to be less than $1,300. And then the other concern I had with getting a glass backsplash is I didn't think the white was going to match, but they match resin colors. This is not a resin color, but I'm going to go into town and get resin paint chips and match this exact white, because like there's obviously different shades of white. I mean, you can even see between that and that it's different. But anyway, so that's like reassuring to me that it's going to be the exact same white. It will just be glossy. The reason I was kind of like, besides the price, feeling salty about having the whole thing glass is I didn't want the kitchen to look like it had two halves. Like, oh, here's the shiplap like farmhousey half, and then here's the glossy white glass modern half. Like, I just felt like it would break it up, whereas that I think will break it up less. So that's where we are now. I need to go get paint chips, waiting for the quote, and then we can go ahead. Still waiting on the kickboard. I don't know why that's taking so long. So when I pop into town, I'm going to actually ask them like what is happening with that. Just installing some trim pieces to kind of pack out that gap, because there was a hole in the side and it was visible, and when the fridge is in it'll fit more snugly now, and there won't be gaps on either side, and I can paint it the same color as the cabinet.
You might have to brace you now.
Yeah, well, I also added the quarter round there, which I need to paint. I've put that in and caulked it. So the strips are installed and caulked, and I am going to get a paint match, painted the same color as the cabinets. And then under here we've got little magnetic catches that I've just installed, and we've got metal plates to stick on the back of the kick plate, and then we can just pop it on, and then also it can just be easily removed if we need to access anything like the plugs for the stove or anything which is under there. So we're still waiting for that. We should be getting that this week, and then that will make quite a big difference to have that hole covered up. Oh, update on the backsplash. We've just been putting that there for when we use that back burner. So we're actually going to go with the backsplash that's like 10 centimeters wider over there, and it's going to be $575, which is expensive, but not as expensive as $1,300, which would be the whole width. So that's on order. I don't know when that's going to be done, but I think those are the only two things that we're still waiting for. That, and then like the gas regulator still needs to be done, but that's obviously not visible. So we're getting there. Grant is going to start on the ceiling tonight. It's a hardy board ceiling, and rather than like rip it down and plasterboard it, we're going to keep the hardy board, take off the trim, replace it with wider, flatter, like square trim, because this is kind of, you can see, very dated. And then these two light fittings are going to go, and we're going to have 4 recessed lights in the corners. So he's now going to start making a big mess. How's it going?
Good.
So you can see the hardy board panels, and that we obviously do need to replace the trim, but hopefully it'll look a bit more modern. Lights tomorrow. You're looking forward to crawling around in the roof space?
I've been out there plenty of times.
These two are going to be the trickiest, the one there and the one there, because there's not much space up in the eaves. Forgot to show you that the kickboard came in and I fitted it. So that's looking a bit more finished on that side. $10 a piece. So that is how it's going to look. Just kind of squarer and flatter. So that's what the new panel pieces in Grant's busy caulking. And there were some loose edges of paint which I started scraping, and then that escalated. The paint was just coming off in sheets. Like, I was just trying to get to a non-loose edge that I could just sand and then paint over. So there are some bits which wouldn't come off, but the edges aren't kind of like loose, so that's fine. But yeah, a lot of it just came off. So this is the state of my lovely new kitchen at the moment. I was going to show you the box from the light, but they've already been taken out to recycling. But this is what we've chosen, and I like them because they are completely flush. They're not actually recessed, which is quite nice. And it actually has 3 settings on the back, so you can have warm white, cool white, or daylight. So we've set them on daylight, but I like that you can kind of change instead of, you know, buying different ones. So these will pop in, like you fold these back, you stick them in, and then that clamps it into the ceiling, and then obviously connect it there. So Grant's just finishing up with the caulking, and then I can paint.
Jane's finishing off the last of the painting. And look down. Going a bit grey there, Jen.
You giving me greys.
Look down again. I want to see it. Whoa.
I want to get finished. I'm so close to finished.
Good job, Jen. Good girl.
Popping them in. Holding the little wings up. And then pop it in and they release and they clip and hold it.
It's amazing, it's like sucked in.
I love that they're flush and they're not actually recessed.
What do you mean by recessed?
Like some of them has the circle and then the bulb is higher.
Oh, yes.
Ta-da! Oh, the ceiling looks patchy because it's actually still wet. And we've decided to caulk and paint that gap along the top. I didn't for the hallway, and it kind of just outlined the wall, but I think in the kitchen, because I don't know, I just think it'll look better if it's caulked and painted. So that's another job for tomorrow. Every time I think I've checked another job off the list, then I add one. But there's the ceiling and the lights. So this is the brand of lights, and I'm standing at the counter and it's actually lit. Normally with the old lighting there would be like a big shadow over where I was working, so I think it's going to work out well. Pleased with that. Exhausted, but pleased with that. I've just finished caulking and painting that top seam, and it looks a lot better, a lot cleaner and neater, and I think we really are finished now except for the backsplash. The guy from the glass company has just called and he's coming to fit the backsplash, so this is the before. That was actually super quick. I'm really pleased with the color. We color matched the paint to kind of make it look as invisible as possible. Unfortunately, as you can see, it's really shiny and glossy, and I really didn't want that sort of a look, but it is what it is. We have to do it, and thankfully it's not too overly visible. We do lose the visual lines, but I'm not going to stress about it. It's something that had to happen. I prefer if it wasn't there, but we had to get it installed, and I'm glad that that's just done now and we can just get on with using our kitchen. The only thing we're still waiting for is for the gas regulator on the meter to be replaced. So the hob is still functioning at kind of half strength, but it's been fine. Like, we've been able to cook on it, and now won't have to prop a cutting board at the back there. We can just cook and not worry about the back. I was like having flashbacks when I was editing. I'm so glad that that's behind us. I don't always enjoy doing DIY, but I enjoy having done DIY. It's very satisfying to see things come together and to work hard and to see results of your labor. but I'm glad it's over and that we can just enjoy our kitchen now, because it was a bit hectic at times, especially when we did the bench tops or the work surfaces. So speaking of work surfaces, that is one of the biggest costs. I've got my piece of paper here with our expenses written down, and we had different quotes for work surfaces. I initially wanted stainless steel, and that was quoted at around $5,000 to get that done. So we were like, never mind. We didn't want to go for granite or, you know, Korean stone or anything that was going to be expensive. We didn't want to overcapitalize due to where we live, and also we just wanted our money to go further. So in the end, we decided to go for just Formica. I like this design that we've chosen. It is not trying to be anything. It's not pretending to be marble or wood or anything. It's just like a speckle design, and we really like it. It's durable, it is inexpensive compared to our other options. So we had a quote for getting this installed for us, and it was going to be about, well, it's going to be over $2,500. So just measuring and ordering the kitchen worktop and installing it ourselves, that came to $1,151.53. We bought it from Bunnings, and I do want to mention that we do have a Power Pass card for Bunnings, which gives you a small discount on kind of materials. So that was the third most expensive bill that we had to pay. The second most expensive bill was when we ordered our oven, hob, tap, the cabinet for the oven to go in, and the panels to go onto the cabinet, and also the kick plate. We ordered that all in one go, and that came to $1,808.27. So I can't tell you exactly how much our hob or our oven cost, because that was kind of bundled in with that. I should have written it down at the time, but I didn't. And the oven that we bought has been discontinued. I'm not sure about the hob, so I couldn't find it online, but that's what that all came to. The most expensive line item out of the whole renovation was the plumber who came to connect the hob. So Grant installed the hob and kind of did as much as he could, but obviously if you're connecting an appliance to gas, you need a qualified gas fitter, and like I said, tradespeople are expensive. So just getting the plumber out to connect the gas hob cost $1,533.53, and the company we used was Evergreen. So those were our three most expensive bills out of the whole project. But everything else that we spent money on was planking for the walls. So I bought laminate planking. I did have some left over from doing the floor out in the cabin, and then whatever else I had to buy to top up came to $92.06. The primer that I used on them we already had, so that didn't cost us anything. I did need to buy a pot of laminate paint, and that was $77.32. Yes, it's not even a big pot of paint. That is how expensive DIY materials are in New Zealand. Ceiling paint we already had, so I didn't have to pay anything for that. We installed 4 downlights, and they came to $118.21. Grant had to replace thin board on the walls, or hardy board, or whatever it's called. So you would have seen once we started pulling things off, like the tiles and the upstand from the previous counter, there were holes in the walls, and that had to be patched in. And thin board, nails, adhesive, and wire also for some of the electrics came to $130.55. In the kitchen reveal video, you would have heard the story of the glass backsplash over there. That was $575. Getting the planks onto the wall, all of the adhesive and the caulk that we used, that came to $91.21. The edging strips that we put alongside the fridge, you would have seen that also in the reveal video, that cost $43.67, yes, for a couple of pieces of wood. The rails that I bought, the 2 rails that are behind the door, they were $68.08, and then the hooks I had to order from a different place, and they were $15. And I also bought a cabinet handle that we can put onto the cabinet for a towel rail, which hasn't arrived yet. I bought that on AliExpress for $3.98. And then we paid $2.50 for a pack of 4 door stops, because we needed a door stop. So altogether we spent $5,710.91 on the renovation. I know that's a lot of money. I don't think that's inexpensive. I think that is quite expensive, but we did it as cheaply as we could. And the reason I wanted to share costs with you guys is, if you are new to New Zealand or planning on moving here, or just interested in what it's like here, that is how expensive it is to DIY a half kitchen renovation. We didn't even rip anything out. It is so expensive, but we're so grateful that we were able to do it and able to do the work ourselves, because we absolutely love our new kitchen and it was worth every penny. Thank you for your very kind comments on the kitchen reveal video. I'm glad you guys enjoyed seeing it as much as we enjoy it. At the end of the day, really, we're the only ones who need to enjoy it, but it is so much more fun when you guys are happy to see it as well. I did get a comment about how it looked very kind of white and beige, and that is the look that we were going for. That's what we wanted, just clean and bright. I know that for some people, our kitchen probably feels a little bit sparse and bare. We have some interest on the wall with the wall shelf and kind of up there, and all of the counters are as clear as they can be. We have a toaster, a kettle, and like nothing else on the counters, and that's just how we prefer it, because I cook from scratch, I bake from scratch, I'm always doing stuff in the kitchen, and the minute I start cooking and baking, there's ingredients and chopping boards and knives and things all over the counters, and I didn't want to start off with cluttered counters to begin with. So even our utensils are now stored in the pantry, and it's just so nice to have this completely open and bare blank slate to come into and prepare a meal or bake something, or you know, just enjoy our kitchen. Also, when the dishwasher's running, there's like dirty dishes on the side, so it doesn't look like this all of the time, but we just love it, and it was so much fun sharing it with you guys, and the anticipation that some of you displayed, saying you couldn't wait to see it, that made it super fun for us. I hope you found this interesting or informative. If you have any questions, leave them below and I'll try and answer them as soon as I can. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.